The city is alive, pulsating with a rhythm that could only be described as chaos wrapped in grandeur. Neon lights flicker like nervous fireflies, casting their glow on darkened alleys and skyscrapers that pierce the heavens. I, Kai, the unwilling heir to a legacy of blood and violence, find myself walking into a gilded ballroom, a place where power wears a mask of elegance. Tonight, I am not the son of Hector, the most feared man in the underworld. Tonight, I am just another face among the wealthy elite, invited to a gathering that reeks of excess and silent rivalries. Keep your guard up. My father's voice echoes in my head, though he's miles away. His words feel more like a chain than advice. My mission tonight is simple. Observe, gather intel, and ensure our enemies, the illustrious Victor Steele and his empire of deceit, don't gain any upper hand. But when I step into the ballroom, all I see is her. She stands at the far end of the room, an ethereal vision in a silver gown that clings to her like moonlight. Her dark hair cascades in soft waves, framing a face that could stop time itself. She doesn't belong here, I think. There's too much purity in her eyes, a flicker of vulnerability that sets her apart from the predators circling this room. As if sensing my stare, she looks up, her gaze locking onto mine. A jolt runs through me, sharp, electric. For a moment, the cacophony around us fades, leaving only her and me in a world that seems to hold its breath. My feet move before my mind catches up. I weave through the crowd, every step drawing me closer to her. When I'm finally in front of her, I bow slightly, offering a hand. Care for a dance? She hesitates, her lips parting as if to refuse. But then she takes my hand. Her touch is feather-light, yet it sends a warmth through me that I can't explain. As the music swells, we begin to move. She follows my lead effortlessly, her body flowing in perfect harmony with mine. For the first time in what feels like forever, I forget who I am. I forget the weight of my family's sins, the blood on my hands. I am just a man, dancing with a woman who feels like a dream. I don't think I've seen you here before, I say, my voice low. She tilts her head, a playful smile tugging at her lips. Perhaps you weren't looking closely enough. I chuckle, surprised by her wit. Then allow me to make up for lost time. I'm Kai. Her smile falters just for a second. So quick I almost miss it. Lila, she replies softly, her voice like a melody. The dance ends, but I'm not ready to let her go. We retreat to a quieter corner of the ballroom, away from prying eyes. She speaks of art, of books, of dreams that seem too big for this suffocating world. I find myself captivated not just by her beauty, but by her mind. She is a storm in disguise, a quiet force of nature that draws me in deeper with every word. But the world has a cruel sense of timing. As we laugh softly over a shared joke, a familiar face emerges from the crowd. Victor Steele, the man my father has vowed to destroy. He strides toward us with a confidence that makes the air feel heavier. Lila stiffens, her smile fading. I notice the resemblance immediately, the sharp cheekbones, the piercing eyes. And then it hits me. She's his daughter. My blood runs cold. How could I not have seen it before? The room feels smaller now, the walls closing in. I glance at her, hoping, praying that I'm wrong. But the look in her eyes confirms my worst fear. You didn't tell me? I murmur, my voice barely audible. Her lips part, but no words come. Victor reaches us, his gaze sweeping over me with the calculating precision of a predator sizing up its prey. And who might this be, Lila? He asks, his tone deceptively polite. A friend, she replies, her voice trembling just enough for me to notice. Victor's eyes narrow, and I can feel the weight of his suspicion pressing down on me. My instincts scream at me to leave, to end this before it spirals out of control. But I can't. Not yet. As the night wears on, I find myself slipping into the shadows, my mind a whirlwind of conflict. She is everything I didn't know I was searching for, but she is also the daughter of my enemy. I watch her from across the room one last time, her face a mixture of sadness and longing. For a brief moment I consider going to her, ignoring the consequences. But then I remember my father's words, his warning. This can't happen. I turn and walk away, leaving behind the only spark of light I've known in years. But deep down, I know the truth. This isn't over. It's only the beginning. The days following the gala pass in a blur of cold, sharp moments. My life as the heir to my father's empire has always been a collection of duties, obligations, and bloody encounters. But nothing has felt as heavy as this. The world is a silent storm. When the sun sets, it's as though the shadows themselves whisper her name. Lila Steele, the woman I can't stop thinking about, even though I know I should. I can feel it gnawing at me, the weight of a promise made years ago. Family first, always. The Steeles are our enemies, and in this world, the lines between blood and betrayal are drawn with lethal precision. Yet, every time I close my eyes, I see her smile, the way her fingers lingered in mine during that brief moment of intimacy. And when I try to shake it off, it only grows stronger. I know that I'm treading a dangerous path, but she, too, is not innocent. The more I think about her, the more I wonder, does she know who I really am? Does she know that every step I take is dictated by the need to destroy her father's empire? I don't see her again for several weeks, but I can't seem to stop searching for her. I've heard whispers. People speak in hushed tones about the powerful Steele family, their vast fortune, their shadowy dealings, but I only care about one thing, her. One evening, as the cold wind blows through the narrow streets of the city, I find myself standing outside a sleek, modern cafe. I've heard rumors. She likes to come here, to escape from the suffocating world of business and control. I don't expect much, but when the door swings open and I see her silhouette in the dim light, my breath catches in my throat. She's alone. I hesitate for a moment, but my feet move of their own accord, pulling me inside, toward her. When she sees me, a flicker of surprise dances in her eyes, quickly masked by a polite smile. "Kai," she says softly, as though she didn't expect to hear my name on her lips. "Lila." I sit across from her, the air thick with unspoken words. She looks beautiful, as always, but there's something different in her eyes, something guarded, as though she's been hiding her true self behind a carefully constructed wall. "I wasn't expecting you," she says. "I thought you were too busy with your responsibilities." I smirk, a little self-mocking. "I'm not as busy as you think." For a moment, there's a pause, an unspoken tension hanging in the air between us, a line that we both know can't be crossed. Yet we keep dancing around it, circling it, neither of us willing to admit what we truly feel. Finally, she speaks. "What are we doing, Kai?" I study her for a moment, wondering if she's asking the same question I've been asking myself. "I don't know," I admit, "but I can't stop thinking about you." Her breath catches in her throat, and for a split second, I see something real, a vulnerability. But just as quickly, she hides it behind a mask of politeness. "I'm not the one you should be thinking about." I lean forward, unable to control the words that spill from my mouth. "You're wrong. You're exactly who I should be thinking about." Her gaze shifts away from mine, her lips pressed tightly together. I can see her mind working, struggling with a decision she knows will change everything. "You don't understand," she says, voice barely above a whisper. "My father, my family, they would never accept this." I sit back, the weight of her words sinking into me like a stone. She's right, of course. Our families are at war, and I know the consequences of defying them. But even as the logical part of my brain screams for me to stop, my heart wants to do nothing more than hold her close and let the world burn around us. "I don't care about your father," I say, my voice fierce. "I care about you, Lila." She stands abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "No, Kai, you don't understand. This isn't something we can just ignore. We're from two different worlds, and you know what that means. It means nothing but destruction." I stand too, moving toward her, my breath shallow. "Maybe it does, but I'd rather burn with you than live without you." For a long moment we stand there, the world outside the cafe moving in slow motion, but inside, it feels like time has stopped. Then, without another word, She walks out. I watch her go, my heart sinking into a place I'm not sure I can escape from. Over the next few weeks, things get worse. My family's business intensifies. My father's grip on the city grows tighter, and every day I am expected to carry out orders that I no longer believe in. There's blood on my hands. Blood from men who were simply trying to survive. Blood that doesn't wash away no matter how hard I try. But every night I think about Lila. Every damn night. I haven't seen her since that fateful encounter in the cafe. She's disappeared, no phone calls, no messages. It's as though she's vanished from my life entirely. But I know it's not over. She can't be gone. I've learned something about myself these past few weeks. When I set my mind on something, there's no turning back. And Lila Steele is something I cannot walk away from. I need to see her again. The city is a labyrinth of steel and glass, but tonight, it feels like a cage. The shadows stretch long across the streets, and the cold wind bites at my skin. I'm standing outside a building that I never thought I'd find myself near again, the Steele family mansion. After weeks of trying to forget her, I can't. I'm done fighting it. I've come to terms with one brutal truth. I will destroy everything for her. But even as I stand here, my heart is a mess of conflicting emotions. What am I even doing? Is this love? Or is it the twisted game of two people trapped in a world built on bloodshed and lies? I push the thoughts aside and step forward. The mansion looms over me like a fortress, its windows dark and uninviting. But there's one part of the house I'm familiar with, the garden. Lila's favorite place. The only place where she felt free. It's where we used to meet, away from the prying eyes of her father and mine. I slip through the iron gates and make my way to the familiar, secluded area. And there she is. Lila is standing by the fountain, her back to me, staring out at the moonlit water. The sight of her takes my breath away, as it always does. She turns when she hears me, her eyes wide with surprise and, perhaps, a hint of fear. But there's no turning back now. "Kai!" she whispers, her voice fragile. She takes a step back, her body tense. "You shouldn't be here." "I couldn't stay away," I say, my voice steady despite the storm inside me. "I've tried, but I can't. Not after everything we've shared." "Lila, Stop," she interrupts, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. She looks down at the ground, her hands trembling at her sides. "You don't understand. If my father finds out you're here, you don't know what he'll do." "I know what he'll do. He'll try to kill me, just like he's tried with everyone who's crossed him. But you're worth it." Her eyes snap to mine, filled with pain. She looks away again, biting her lip as though she's trying to hold back the tears. "No, Kai," she says softly, her voice breaking. "You don't understand. This is a game we can't win. You're the son of Hector. I'm the daughter of Victor Steele. Our families are at war. There's no future for us. I don't care about the war. I care about you." She looks at me, her eyes desperate. "Don't say that. Don't make this harder than it already is." But it's too late. The truth is out. I can't back down anymore. The weight of her words hangs in the air, suffocating us both. There's a part of me that wants to run, wanting to listen to her, to let her go and let the war continue. But there's another part of me, the part that has always been buried deep beneath the surface, that refuses to give up. "I don't care about our families," I say again, more forcefully this time. "I care about you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to protect you. But I can't do this alone. I need you, Lila." She shakes her head slowly, tears welling up in her eyes. "I can't," she says through clenched teeth. "You don't know what my father is capable of. If I'm with you, he'll kill me. He'll make sure I never see the light of day again." "I'll protect you," I reply fiercely. "I'll fight him. I'll fight anyone who stands in our way." Lila steps back, her voice breaking. "You don't know what you're asking, Kai. If you really cared about me, you would walk away. For both of our sakes." Her words pierce through me like a dagger. She's right. If I truly loved her, I'd walk away. But I can't. The only thing I know now is that I need her, and I'll do whatever it takes to keep her by my side. even if it means fighting the world. I reach out to her, my hands trembling. I'm not going anywhere, Lila. This is my choice. Her breath catches in her throat, and for a moment, she looks at me like she's seeing me for the first time. Then, slowly, she steps forward, her eyes filled with resolve. I don't want to lose you, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. But if we do this, there's no going back. Our families will never forgive us. I nod. I know, but I don't care anymore. She's silent for a moment, and then, as if making up her mind, she reaches out and grabs my hand. Then we do this together. The decision is made. The game we've both been avoiding has begun, and there's no turning back now. We're caught in a web of lies and blood, and the only way out is to burn everything down. We sit in the garden for hours, talking in hushed tones, planning the future that we both know will be drenched in danger. Lila speaks of her father's empire, its cracks and weaknesses. She tells me that there's a way to bring it all down, but it's not going to be easy. Her father is ruthless, calculating. He won't hesitate to kill anyone who threatens his power. But together we think we can outsmart him. Together we can bring him to his knees. I don't know how much time we have, Lila says, her voice tinged with fear. My father is already suspicious. If he finds out about us, she shakes her head. It'll be the end of everything. I won't let him hurt you. I promise, my hand tightening around hers. We'll be smarter than him. We'll move carefully, piece by piece. She nods, her eyes dark with determination. Then we start tonight. The first step is to get information on his latest deals. He's been meeting with some powerful men lately. Men who could be a threat to everything we've worked for. We don't waste any more time. The plan begins. And with it, a ticking clock that we can't afford to ignore. The world feels like it's collapsing in slow motion. Every moment I spend with Lila, the more I realize how deep we've sunk into this. We've crossed a line and there's no going back. I should feel fear, but instead, there's only a sense of urgency, a hunger to see this through. The plan is set in motion, and with it comes the weight of knowing that our lives, our futures, are no longer our own. They're in the hands of the very forces we're trying to dismantle. It's a cold night when we make our first move. Lila and I meet in the shadows of a dimly lit street corner, far from the watchful eyes of her father's empire. The city around us hums with the quiet rhythm of late-night traffic. But here, beneath the cold streetlights, we're alone, preparing for something bigger than either of us can fully comprehend. We have to move fast, Lila says, her voice steady, though I can hear the tension threading through it. Her eyes are sharp, calculating, as she checks the contents of the small bag she's brought with her. A collection of encrypted files that contain the information we need to bring down her father. I've been following his meetings for weeks, she continues, her face illuminated by the faint light from a passing car. There's one deal in particular that could be our ticket. He's been meeting with a man named Leonard West, a notorious arms dealer. If we can expose their transactions, we can strip him of his allies and his power. I take a deep breath, my mind racing through the potential consequences. How do we get close to him? Lila smiles, though it's not a happy one. It's a smile laced with bitterness and resolve. Leave that to me. She's been planning this for weeks, studying every move her father makes. I've seen the intensity in her eyes, and though I admire her brilliance, there's a part of me that fears what this will cost us both. But there's no turning back. Not now. You're sure about this? I ask, my voice low. We can't afford any mistakes. I know the risks, she replies, her voice unwavering. But we don't have a choice. It's him or us, Kai. We arrive at a sleek, high-rise building in the heart of the city, its glass windows reflecting the cold moonlight. It's a place where deals are made in secret, where the powerful meet in the shadows. Lila's plan is to get inside, pretend to be an innocent bystander caught up in the wrong place at the wrong time, and gather as much information as possible. I keep my distance, watching from the shadows as she steps into the lobby. The tension in my chest tightens with every passing second. My instincts scream that we're making a huge mistake. But I can't do this without her. She's the key to everything. A few minutes later, Lila emerges from the building, looking calm, collected, but I can see the tremor in her hands as she slides a small envelope into my palm. It's the files we need. I don't have to ask to know what's inside. The weight of the envelope tells me everything. She's done it. She's gotten us what we need. But at what cost? As we make our way back to our meeting point, the sense of relief I should feel is replaced with dread. The files are only the beginning. If we expose the deals between Victor Steele and Leonard West, there will be no going back. Her father will know we betrayed him, and the consequences will be brutal. What now? I ask, glancing at Lila, who is quiet, her eyes distant as she walks beside me. She doesn't answer immediately. For a moment, she seems lost in thought. Then she stops and turns to face me. "Kai," she says, her voice soft but heavy with meaning. "I don't know if we can go through with this. It's one thing to fight against my father, but once we expose him, once the world knows what he's really doing, there's no going back. He'll destroy us." I feel the weight of her words settle like a lead ball in my chest. "You said we didn't have a choice." "I know," she whispers. "But now that we're here, now that we've crossed the line, I'm not sure I can live with the consequences." I reach out, taking her hand in mine. "I won't let anything happen to you, Lila. I promise." But even as I say the words, I know they don't mean as much as they should. We've already set this in motion, and no promise, no matter how sincere, can undo the danger we're about to face. We decide to wait before acting. The files will be used to leverage Victor Steele's empire, but we need a plan to ensure that the damage is irreversible. We need to hit him where it hurts, expose him to the people who can take him down. People who have been quietly waiting for the right moment to strike. But just as we're finalizing our next move, the worst possible thing happens. I get a call. It's from my father. "I know what you've been up to, Kai." His voice is low, the anger unmistakable. "You're playing a dangerous game, and you've crossed the line. If you think you can destroy Steele and walk away unscathed, you're wrong. You're either with me or against me." I freeze. Every muscle in my body tightens, the air in my lungs turning to ice. "I'm not your pawn anymore." I snap back, my voice shaking with a fury I can't hide. "I'm doing this for her, not for you." There's a long silence on the other end of the line. Then, my father's voice comes again, colder this time, more deadly. "Then you've made your choice, Kai, and now you'll face the consequences." He hangs up. Lila and I stand together, facing the reality of what we've just set in motion. The quiet thrill of our small victory is gone. In its place is a cold, crushing weight that we can't escape from. I turn to her, my heart pounding in my chest. "We have to act now, before it's too late." Lila nods, her eyes dark with a mixture of fear and determination. "I know, but we need help. We can't do this alone. If we're going to bring my father down, we'll need to gather allies. People who can give us the leverage we need." "But who?" I ask, already knowing the answer. She looks at me, her eyes piercing mine. "You know who. Your father's enemies. People who owe him, people who have nothing left to lose. We can't just expose Steele. We have to make him afraid." And so, we begin making preparations for the final move. Our lives, our futures are on the line. But the stakes have never been higher, and neither of us can back down now. Everything has led to this. The walls are closing in, and time is no longer a luxury we can afford. Our plan is set, but there's no guarantee it will work. The stakes are higher than ever, and I can feel the weight of every decision we've made pressing down on my chest. The air feels thicker now, charged with an energy I can't escape, as though the world itself is holding its breath in anticipation. Lila stands beside me, her eyes unwavering, her posture tense. There's a fire in her that matches mine now. We've crossed too many lines to go back, and the path forward is dark, dangerous, and fraught with betrayal. But we have no other choice. It's all or nothing. We either bring down the empire that her father built, or we fall with it. Lila and I have spent the past few days scrambling to secure allies, people who would be willing to stand against Victor Steele. The challenge is monumental, Her father is a ruthless businessman with connections in every corner of the underworld. But we've found a few who are willing to lend us their support, out of fear, greed, or personal vendettas against Steele. Among them is Felix Rivers, a former high-ranking member of Steele's inner circle who turned on him after a brutal betrayal. He's been living in the shadows, keeping a low profile, but his hatred for Steele burns just as strongly as ours. He's our greatest asset right now, the one man who knows the inside workings of the Steele empire. We meet Felix in a rundown bar on the outskirts of the city, a place where secrets are exchanged, and nothing is ever what it seems. The smell of cheap whiskey and cigarette smoke clings to the air as we sit down at a corner table, away from prying eyes. "You're sure about this?" Felix asks, his voice gruff, his face shadowed by a scruffy beard. "Once we do this, there's no turning back. Steele will come for all of us." Lila looks him in the eye, her voice steady. "We know, but we don't have a choice. You've seen what he's done. You know the power he holds. If we don't stop him now, he'll destroy us all." Felix nods slowly, his eyes narrowing as he weighs the decision. Finally, he speaks. "All right, I'm in. But don't think for a second this is going to be easy. Steele's not just going to roll over. He's got more enemies than you realize. You'll need more than just dirt on him to take him down." Lila and I exchange a look. We've been preparing for this moment for weeks, but Felix's warning hits home. This won't be a simple expose. We need leverage, something that will make Steele fear us. We have the information we need about his dealings with Leonard West, but we need to make sure that no one can doubt its authenticity. We need to hit him where it hurts most. We need access to his private files. I say, my voice low. If we can get our hands on the proof of his biggest deals, we'll have enough leverage to bring him to his knees. Felix leans in closer. "I know where those files are kept, but getting them won't be easy. Steele's got the best security money can buy. You'll need someone on the inside." The plan is simple in theory. Break into Steele's headquarters, steal the files, and expose them to the world. But in practice, it's anything but. We've spent the past week coordinating every detail, preparing for the heist of a lifetime. Felix's contacts have provided us with inside information about Steele's security measures, but it's still a risky operation. The stakes have never been higher. The night of the heist arrives, and the tension in the air is palpable. Lila and I meet in the darkened alley behind Steele's headquarters, our nerves electric. We're both wearing dark clothing, blending into the shadows as we approach the building. We can see the faint outline of guards patrolling the perimeter, their movements sharp and deliberate. "We can't afford to slip up," Lila whispers, her voice tight with anticipation. "If we're caught, it's over. Steele will make sure we disappear without a trace." I nod, my jaw set. There's no room for mistakes tonight. Our lives, our futures depend on this moment. Felix is already inside, handling the security system, disabling the cameras and alarms. We slip inside the building, moving quickly through the corridors, our footsteps muffled by the thick carpet. We reach the vault where Steele keeps his most sensitive files, and that's when the real challenge begins. The vault is locked with a complex biometric system, one that requires a retinal scan and a voice print. We've anticipated this, and Felix has provided us with a way in. Lila steps forward, her fingers trembling slightly as she scans the retinal data Felix provided. It's a tense few moments before the vault door clicks open, and we're in. The files are right there, neatly stacked, ready to be taken. I can feel the rush of adrenaline in my veins as I reach for the documents. But as my fingers graze the edge of the stack, I hear a noise behind me. Footsteps. I turn around just in time to see a figure emerge from the shadows. It's one of Steele's men, tall, broad-shouldered, and armed. His eyes lock onto mine, and for a moment, I freeze. The danger is real now. He's seen us. Not so fast. The man growls, drawing his gun. "You really thought you could take this from Mr. Steele?" I can feel the heat of panic rising in my chest, but I keep my composure. We're not done yet. We have to get out of here, and we have to do it now. But before I can react, the man is taken down. Felix, from the shadows, his silenced gun in hand. He's a ghost in the night, moving like a predator. The man crumples to the ground, and Felix motions for us to move. "We need to go now," he hisses. We grab the files and run. But as we reach the exit, I hear another sound. Footsteps, dozens of them, echoing down the hallway. Steele's men are coming, and they're coming fast. The trap has been set. We fight our way through the building, the sound of gunfire ringing in our ears. It's chaos, pure and simple. But we have to keep moving, have to get the files into the hands of the people who can expose Steele for who he really is. As we make our way to the exit, I feel a sharp pain in my side. I stumble but keep going, my focus on the one thing that matters: getting Lila out of here alive. She looks at me, her face pale with fear, but there's determination in her eyes. We're in this together, and no matter what happens, we will finish it. We make it to the car, barely escaping the oncoming wave of Steele's men. I slam the door shut, and we drive off into the night, our hearts racing. We've won the first battle, but the war is far from over. Steele's empire may be on the brink of collapse, but that doesn't mean he'll go down quietly. There are more battles to fight, more enemies to face, and the consequences of our actions will be far-reaching. As I glance at Lila, I know this is only the beginning. The files we've secured will bring down her father, but it will cost us everything we've ever known. The blood we've spilled, the lives we've risked. It's all been for one thing: the truth. And now we have to make sure it's heard.